You noble diggers, all stand up now.
Hello my friends, welcome to my channel. Today we will be talking about what's the plan to tax the rich, or what's this plan going to do to tax the rich. If you are familiar with my channel, then you will know that the mainstay of this channel is that we mean to unite the Anglosphere by having the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III apply for statehood. Though the dissolution of America seems fast in coming. Maybe it'll end up being the other way around if America doesn't survive this Donald Trump presidency. I have faith, though. Even if the institutions themselves fail, the people will cling to their myths. Yesterday, we tried to feed the thirsting gods of the algorithm, and so today we're back to a more wholesome point, a point that is actually connected to our project, our process, our goals. And so there are several things that will contribute to how this system, this new country, this new power will tax the rich, will implement taxes, right? Most of it will be automatic. This is because the Commonwealth is such a diverse and influential amalgamation of countries and kingdoms that there are hidey holes, there are hidden places where the money hides. And just changing the name on the map will, for certain, make the money more easily accessible by liberal or centrist administrations, and take away their excuse that they can't cross international boundaries to go collect the money that is, being held from the government in contempt. First, the Commonwealth. Not many people even know what I mean when I say the Commonwealth. They probably think of Pennsylvania, because I think that's a Commonwealth as well. But the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III are the three main kingdoms: England, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, and then, of course, New Zealand and the other crown dependent. The crown dependencies are something that Americans especially are very unfamiliar with writ large.
I can't concentrate on British mercantile law. I don't care about British mercantile law.
And they're everywhere, right? There's an RAF base on Cyprus that has been used as the main spy and scout plane base for the genocide in Gaza. There is a base called Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean, which is the most important naval asset that the Americans have, and it's British. There are dozens of small Caribbean islands that owe their sovereignty to His Majesty the King, and those can be used for basing and refueling and staging. There are also islands in the Atlantic and Pacific, Ascension, St. Helena. These are unpopulated, but again, they're staging and reinforcement points, fortresses. And that's a military mind, though, taking that to that, right? The point of why we think about all these crown dependencies is because in the civilian, in the day-to-day, they hide the money, right? That's where the money goes to hide. But that's not the only place it goes to hide, right? The first thing that will happen when the Commonwealth of His Majesty joins the United States of America is that the subject peoples will have to negotiate in good faith with us. What I mean by this is the euros. Have you ever heard of a...
Let's look at Apple's use of the double Irish for the Dutch sandwich. Apple sells IP to an Apple-owned Bermuda company for $1. Bermuda Apple sells IP to an Apple-owned Irish company for $100. Apple Irish sells to an Apple-owned Dutch company for $100. Apple Dutch company sells to another Apple-owned Irish company for $100. That's where you get your sandwich. All money winds back to Bermuda, where the $99 profit is taxed at 0%.
That's contempt. Contempt from a subject people. they're going to try and leech money out of the imperial system, right? The core that keeps them safe. That's crazy, right? So the first thing that will happen when the unholy alliance of Anglo-America becomes, the new Roman Empire, the new main power of the world, the preeminent power, uh, that will demand. We won't even demand. They'll just offer. They'll offer fair tax rates on their corporations within their borders, because they will no longer be able to play hide the ball between, or divide et impera, divide and conquer, between the Anglos and America, because it'll all just be one. So that's the first thing you got to think about, that the allies will start to treat us a little more fairly, right? And it's mostly those European coastal states who try and take advantage. It's not the real allies like the Germans or the Japanese. They have less conspicuous ways of fiddling with the economy. Offshoring, the Japanese custom of building where they sell is an interesting one that leeches money in small percentages, right? But also builds in the economy of their allies. So there are ways to get around playing nice without having to show complete contempt for an ally, like the Irish and the Netherlands do. And the Irish, once the Commonwealth joins the United States of America, there will be just one Anglophone state. And I see no reason to not incorporate Ireland into that. You could give them Northern Ireland as
the Irish unification of
the purchase for their statehood, and then they would just be another state, right? Scotland, England, Ireland, new states. And that would be good for Irish reunification. It's better than the Londonderry and Derry gangs just killing each other for having slightly different Christianity every week. Next, what this will do is it will limit the Crown dependencies' tax havens, right? If you remember Sam Bankman-Fried, who is the crypto scam guy that got brought down by Coffeezilla, all hail Coffeezilla.
They should have, according to your terms of service, one-to-one backing. It should all still be in some bucket somewhere. Are you confident today to say that those are absolutely real and they exist and they're present, people are backed one-to-one on client digital assets?
So I think, and again, I'm just taking a stab here, when the collapse sort of completed, that effectively meant that there was, if you wanted to put it this way, like fungibility created during those withdrawals between assets for people who had and had not been using.
But that means that there is no separation of funds. If there's fungibility between...
He was hiding in the Bahamas, right? The Bahamas head of state is His Majesty King Charles III, right? It's absurd that citizens could even think that you could hide there, right? But they do. And what's worse is that Sam was probably right, this SBF character, that he technically within the laws, that he was probably safe within the Bahamas, that he wasn't egregiously committing too many crimes, but that he just got the vibes wrong, right? That he came too into the spotlight and that crimes were too open. They had to make an example of him to keep faith with the peasantry. Us. That won't happen once the Commonwealth of His Majesty and the United States are one country, right? Everyone will know that even though the islands aren't states, right? I doubt that Bahamas is going to get statehood, or like much less than I do Puerto Rico is going to get statehood. Racism is what racism does, but there will be a path to statehood much easier under this new system, so keep the faith. Yeah, so there's just no way that the Crown dependencies should be able to hide money, and once we're all one country, it won't be able to. You'll just have the FBI go in, be able to pick up the money. There is one last vulnerability to this tax scheme that I'm cooking up, which is the Panama Papers, right? There are countries that are American colonies, and the Americans have more deftly, more egregiously set up the formalization of these states, right? Panama is a real state. It has its own seat at the UN and things like that. So just crushing them will be harder, but I believe that while we're renegotiating in good faith with the rest of the world, that we should erase a bunch of these micro-states that have been foisted against the peasantry of the United States and the Commonwealth of His Majesty, right? Panama should not exist. It should be Colombia's, or it should be another country's close by. There should be no microstates around the world. Even the Vatican City makes me upset, right? Microstates are a institution of corruption. They are a pathway to corruption. They allow the guise of sovereignty for gangsterism, and it cannot be allowed. Once we have a preeminent power like the United States and the Commonwealth as one country, instead of this bullshit unholy alliance that we have right now, we can just demand to the rest of the world. One president, even a president as weak as Barack Obama, would be able to say Liechtenstein, or the small Italian republic San Marino, Luxembourg, all of them just gone in one wipe, right? We'll gift Liechtenstein to Austria, we'll gift Luxembourg to France, we just give these things away. They don't need to exist, and in fact, they harm the world by existing. They shelter the corrupt. Hello, you've made it to the end of the video. Thank you. This channel has one mission: to prevent civilizational collapse associated with climate change, to prevent 100 million refugees by 2035, to stop 7 billion from starving to death by 2075. And we will do this through one main vehicle. We mean to unite the Anglosphere. We will do this by convincing the Commonwealth of His Majesty King Charles III to apply for statehood as one. And then with this new power, we will be able to negotiate in good faith with the rest of the world on how to tackle this crisis. Thank you and enjoy.